Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another random review. Today's random review is from 1982, and it's Vigilante, directed by William Lustig of Maniac fame, starring Robert Forster, The Hammer, Fred Williamson, Carol Linley, Woody Strode's in it, the wonderful Woody Strode. And as the name suggests, this is another Death Wish inspired film. I actually thought Death Wish was like 1978 or something like that, but it's actually 1974, which was quite surprising. Now, a few months ago, I did another kind of vigilante film from 1982, Tom Skerritt and Fighting Back, directed by Lewis Teague, who of course directed Robert Forster in Alligator. Now, Fighting Back, if you want to go and watch that random review, I wouldn't necessarily say it's more classy than Vigilante, but Vigilante is more, William Lustig exploitation cinema. There's not as much kind of moral philosophizing about whether vigilantism is right or not. Vigilante just lets rip on the revenge violence. I also did a random review probably last year now of Robert Forster in Walking the Edge from 1983. Strangely enough, co-starring Joe Spinell, who's also in Vigilante as a sleazy lawyer. Joe Spinell always played a sleazy something or other. This is more Robert Forster teaming up with this woman who's went through family trauma and getting revenge, rather than, he gets involved and embroiled rather than his own revenge. This is 88 films. There is a Blue Underground Blu-ray and 4K. The reversible art is The Hoodlums, and this actually comes with a reversible poster, one side the Vigilantes, one side the Hoodlums, and you can side on whichever side you like. Also vigilantism is perhaps seen as more of an American thing, of a fantasy of the system doesn't work, let's mete out our own justice. Obviously Death Wish kind of sparked that off. This is more working class. You could say this is kind of blue collar version of Death Wish. Because you remember Charles Bronson's character was actually an architect in Death Wish. Tom Skerritt's character in Fighting Back owns a grocery store, and also his actions against the local thuggery could mean a career in politics. This is very much, whereas Vigilante is really Fred Williamson, the Hammer, from his AFL days playing for the Oakland Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs. That's where I know him from. This might actually be Fred Williamson's best performance. After injuries cut his playing career short. Because, for example, in the 60s, if you blew out your knee, that was pretty much your career over. Go ask Gail Sayers, compared with nowadays. If you blow your ACL, you're back the following year, pretty much. But Fred Williamson did a lot of films, directed a lot of films, produced a lot of films. And this is one of those films produced by Randy Jurgensen, who was one of the real-life police officers that got involved with the French Connection as far as a consultant, and then he got into acting and producing. So he co-produced Vigilante, and he's also in it as a detective, strangely enough. Now, Vigilante does paint this picture of a society that's just completely corrupt, lawyers and judges and politicians are all complicit. The police are some of the police. Steve James is in the film. He plays a street cop who is trying to dissuade Fred Williamson's group to not take the law into their own hands. And then you've got Randy Jurgensen's character who kind of knows what's going on, but is quite not necessarily happy, but quite content to turn a blind eye. So Robert Forster isn't part of Fred Williamson's gang. They all work together, but it's only when Robert Forster's wife and little boy are brutalised by this gang because his wife interferes with this gang member. His wife, Rutana Alda, you recognise her face. She interrupts this gang member as he's pouring petrol over an old guy who owns a gas station, and eventually slaps the gang member, who, strangely enough, doesn't like that. So they follow her to her house, which is very similar to Fighting Back, where a pimp and all-round nice chap follows Tom Skerritt's wife after she interferes while he's beating up one of his hoes, I believe the term is. And these thugs, who are multiracial, so we don't avoid stereotyping one race, they do terrible things to the wife and son. And then Carol Linley's character is the DA who's going to bring them to justice, and of course there's a plea bargain, and it ends up that the thug who's has been arrested 20 odd times but never been convicted because Joe Spinell is a sleazy lawyer and the judge is a sleazy judge. He gets a 2-year suspended sentence, which Robert Forster is not happy about, and Robert Forster ends up getting done for contempt of court, and of course he ends up in prison, which is obviously the wonderful irony. We see the sheer thuggery and nastiness that this gang do, but it's Robert Forster for contempt of court that actually ends up in jail. Meanwhile, we see Fred Williamson's gang getting more and more extreme, getting more and more violent, with people who deserve to be punished, but again, it's your view of how far it should be. I'm against capital punishment because, again, it's been proved capital punishment doesn't work, but I am for digging a massive hole to the centre of the earth and just throwing people down it. Obviously the people that I want thrown down it, obviously, as the young George Bush once said, it would be fine to live in a dictatorship as long as I'm the dictator. So in prison, Robert Forster is targeted for you know what, because again this is a William Lustig film, so you've got to have that element in prison, and he's not necessarily befriended by the great Woody Strode, but Woody Strode intervenes, and it's an interesting relationship because Robert Forster doesn't really say thanks at any point, which is a bit rude, when Woody Strode helps you out for avoiding some great malfeasance in the shower room, and as Robert Foster gets out, Woody Strode says don't come back, and if you have to do anything out there, make sure you don't get caught. And again, Robert Foster just kind of looks at him and walks away and doesn't even say thanks, which I found quite ridiculous. Woody Strode's helping you out, you could at least say thanks. Anyway, Robert Foster comes out and immediately finds Fred Williamson and goes, I want in, because I want these guys. And unlike, Fighting Back, as I said, where it's more, the moral quandary of how far to go, in Vigilante they just go straight to guns and shooting people. Again, there's like a couple of sentences of a conversation on a rooftop with Fred Williamson and Robert Forster, but they just go full blown blammo, and again, it's this idea that it's cathartic to see people that have been wronged by the justice system blowing away these people that deserve blown away. But again, it's up to you whether you're cheering Robert Foster and Fred Williamson on, or whether you're going, lads, you're taking that a bit too far. But again, the world that's created by Lustig is so corrupt and so bad. Nobody comes out of it well. And again, it does help that the ending, there's no kind of everything's going to be okay sort of feel to it. There's no kind of celebratory feel to the ending. It's more just, this is a bad beat and we're all in it. I absolutely adored Fighting Back, but you could say the criticism of Fighting Back is perhaps the ending is a little bit too sort of not necessarily upbeat, but a little bit hopeful, whereas Vigilante's not hopeful at all. Vigilante is exploitation cinema at its best. There is no hope, there are no easy answers. It's a wonderful release. As I said, there's a 4K by Blue Underground, but the Blu-ray in 88 films release looks really good. There's a bunch of commentaries. There's a commentary with co-producer director William Lustig and co-producer Andrew Garrone. There's a commentary with co-producer William Lustig and director, and stars Robert Foster, Fred Williamson and Frank Pesce. And there's a commentary with film historians Troy Howarth and Nathaniel Thompson. Blue Collar Death Wish, interviews with writer Richard Viteri, star Yana Alda, associate producer, first assistant director, actor Randy Jurgensen, and others. Urban Western, interview with composer Jay Chataway, trailers, TV spots, radio spots, promotional reel. There's a double-sided poster, as I said. So I got this Rare Waves, which is an eBay seller, but they also have a website, are doing 2 for £16 at the moment on collector editions. So lots of 88 films, 101s, BFI stuff you can get for £8, which is a pretty good deal. So £8 for Vigilantes, the price mark, I would certainly say it's worth. Again, tons of extras. As I said, it might be Fred Williamson's finest performance, and again, it's great seeing Robert Forster, so underrated. I mean, in fact, I would recommend all 3 of these, and I've now done random reviews on all of them. There's maybe something about vigilante revenge films that strikes a chord. Because we all want to be Charles Bronson from time to time, blowing away scumbags, or maybe that's just me. So thanks very much for watching. Please let me know if you've seen the Vigilante and what you thought of it, and hopefully you'll join me again for more random reviews. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying farewell.